Friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always, not as always, but as always for the Phantasm franchise, our friend and returning co-host, Carmelita, Valdez, McKoy. Welcome back.
Hello, friends.
We're here to do to the Phantasm franchise what they did to that horse. We're here to put it in the ground. Too soon? Too soon?
Pull the plug.
Yeah, we hope you guys have been enjoying the October Mega Marathon. You know the deal. 31 days, 31 pods. So in that vein, we do two franchises every year. Phantasm this year. Carmelita's joined us for the entire ride. So we're very excited that you were able to do that. Excited you're able to see it through to the end here today.
I was excited.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Would you like to tell the people where to find you before we get rolling here?
Sure. Film Alchemist listeners can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd. Same handle for both, at Carmelita Says.
That's right. And guys, if you're here, we're assuming you're enjoying the October Mega Marathon. If you want every pod, all 31 this month, you got to go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. The listeners and patrons there actually voted on which movies they wanted to be the patron exclusives this month. So if you would be so kind, go over there, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Why not get the extra 3? Why not? Just do it. You know you want to. So yeah, if you can, we would appreciate it. All right, Phantasm 5, Ravager. This is the game. We set out a game for ourselves. I'm not even going to read the trivia. Yeah,
not necessary.
Yeah, I don't need to know more. That's the thing. The game that we established for ourselves yesterday, before we start doing anything that might sound slanderous, between us, so this will be 6 things. We each have to say 3 things we really like about Phantasm Ravager. And then we can maybe say some things that have left us scratching our heads. So I will give you first ups while the plate is still the most full, platform style.
Okay.
What was something you liked about Phantasm Ravager?
I got 2 right off the top of my head. The third one, I'm struggling.
Okay.
First of all, I think, especially the desert stuff, just kind of it actually looks really good. The technology has come up so that even something with a low budget can look super crisp. All that Reggie stuff in the desert looks really good.
Okay.
I thought.
All right, now, so what was your second one?
My second one was, I like the bookend. As we're looking at these 3 friends across time, all the span of the years of their lives together. The first film is young people coming to grips with death.
Right.
The loss of parents, the unexpected loss of a brother, trying to make sense of death and your grief.
Right.
I like that this film, now Reggie is maybe in one of these realities, he's in a home and he has dementia and he's at the end of his life.
Okay.
And now he's coming to grip with his own impending death.
Okay.
It's not the experience of a young person trying to make sense of death. It's now the experience of a person who's lived this whole life having to face their own mortality. I thought that was kind of cool thematically as a bookend to the series.
Okay. I liked the kaiju-sized orbs. Even though they're
cool.
So fucking dumb. If you think of it in the context of what this movie is and what the tall man is.
Yeah.
What brain goes in there? Why not just lead with those? But if you take out all the questions, the image of a giant orb destroying buildings, that just tickles my fancy. I like giant-sized kaiju monsters. Fine. My number 2 would be, I love that Reggie's about to get laid for the first time in all these movies. And he falls asleep because he's old.
Because he's old.
After the worst singing ever that's about to work, I thought that was a sweet touch to the movie.
I thought so too.
The old Reggie just like he can't keep his wick as dry as it used to, and he's like,
when she comes down the stairs, I was like, no.
Yeah, she's like, maybe I'll bang him. And I was like, I literally have in my notes, that worked.
Don't tell me that Dawn heard that little song.
She did.
And decided, I'm going to throw him a pity fuck. Don't tell me that's about to happen.
That's exactly what was going to happen. And when they didn't, I laughed out loud. I was like, I love this.
Thank you.
I love this as an homage to where we've been with Reggie. So those are my two. So number 3.
Yes.
Number 3. One more thing you liked about this movie.
So when we jump to the alternate dimension in the like post-apocalyptic hospital,
the hellscape,
I thought there was some really great shots in there, like some cool horror moments. Like there's one shot where Reggie's coming down this dark corridor and it's all black, and then in the background you see the light from a door opening. Like stuff like that I thought very cinematic, look cool. And I could forget for a moment that I didn't know why we were in this alternate dimension.
Yes. Damn, a third thing I liked about Phantasm Ravager.
You can do it. I know you can.
I liked that they brought back the tall man's woman form.
Yeah.
Even though, again, it's one of those, you're like, if you take out any thought or question, you're like, oh, cool. They took us back to his shape-shifting sexual ways. But then she just gets like a deadite face and screams and is killed and is not him.
I don't know. Yeah.
It doesn't end well for her, nor does it help the story, or does it work. But I thought that was cool to see that come back.
And the image was cool of her.
And that lady kept it, right? She's looking better than any of the rest of them at this age.
No, she looks great.
I guess Mike kept it looking
dragging,
pretty tight. Yeah.
Because she was kind of floating in her fleet. Yeah, and the sparks. That was really cool.
I like that too. I would say Mike aged the best, but he was also like 20 years younger when it happened.
He was also younger than the rest of them, yes.
Her, for being the same age as like Jody and Reggie, time was way kinder to her.
Yeah, she looks great.
And Angus is looking the roughest, dude. Angus
he died before this was released.
I know. How fucking awful is that? But he was just so like old and soft looking.
Yeah.
Like I almost didn't want him to tall man anymore. Like that scene when they're in the beds, right? And he's like, oh, we're in this ward together. I was like, I want him to be more Jebediah in this one.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't look right when he was tall manning anymore. Like he looked soft and old, and I wanted to hug him and cuddle him. You know, I didn't want to like battle him anymore.
Bring him a Jello.
Yes.
In the hospital.
Yes. So when I saw him in that hospital room and he like had his little glasses on, I was like, oh, okay. The tall man stuff with him was not working great. Because the thesis of this movie, right? We even start with the tuning fork sound. Ding. That's how him and Reggie are attached, apparently. I can't tell anymore what's real. He has the power to change time, dimension, and even dreams. They say the red planet changed him, but again, will not fucking offer us any information on how. And then it said, he's taken everything from me. I'm alone. Philosophically, love that headspace for a Phantasm movie.
Yeah, especially for the last one.
Right. The tall man being so softened, right? I think the idea of it being a Reggie fever dream is horrendous. I think it's horrendously done. And I think if you rewatch the movie, I think the movie's playing more that this was all Reggie and the tall man never existed. When you get to the end of the movie and Reggie starts fantasizing and he turns around with his gun and hell starts leaking into the thing and he kills the doctors and rides away with Jody and Mike.
It does look very cool.
Right. That is not a story that's telling us that Phantasm is a real tale, and that I don't like.
But you watched the post-credit sequence, right?
What? No, I didn't watch the post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
What happened? I think I was so excited to turn it off that I just did. What did I miss? I'm ashamed as a host.
It's Rocky. So, okay.
Rocky comes back?
Rocky comes back. So the post-credit
I did
sequence,
in the
or,
last one. They did the thing when he was
sequence.
pulling stuff out of his trunk and he had the Rocky nunchucks. Or this one,
Right?
Okay.
Yes.
They pay off the nunchucks at the farm.
So at the end of the movie, they drive away. The credits start rolling, and then we get this sequence where Chunk, most unfortunate name for a little person,
not great. Don't
not
love
great.
That.
Because in the alternate dimension, he blew himself up, right? Well, no. He crawls out of the portal and he's like all charred, but not burned. Like he's got like soot all over him. And he crawls out and Rocky's waiting for him. Like, I knew you would be here. Come on, our ride's coming. And then Jody, Mike, and Reggie pick them up. And they start driving down the highway, and we see the big orbs in the sky.
That specifically tells us this is an unreality. Chunk had at least 6 hand grenades on his tits. He has 1.5 feet of torso. That's about a grenade every 4 inches?
Yeah, I mean,
he fucking died. He fucking died if this is not dement. That last scene in the car when he's like, it's just so good to see you guys again.
I know.
They're dead. Jody's been dead since the first one. We've all known that.
Right. Yes.
The dementia thing, I think that seems like a more interesting avenue than it ends up being. This is the one where it looks cheap. It's kind of got that digital washed out look sometimes.
Yeah.
It has like a porno aesthetic. It's just like, so I just don't know if this was the movie to try something that ambitious.
Sure.
If you're going to do the dementia thing, and it's going to be Reggie versus the tall man, finally. All right, I'm into that movie. That movie I can do. You have to really sit and think. And they talked about how the original script was like these futuristic soldiers, whatever. And how this was like a super fan who had written this, right? Like a fan fiction of like what they wanted at the end of it. That's not what this movie became.
No.
The whole, I hate from the start, even though it is very in line with Phantasm 1, this could all not be real.
Yeah.
We're sick of that, right? This is supposed to be Reggie showing down with the tall man, and he just never does. Maybe in moments he gets to, why would I want my zombie family back? You took everything. Fuck you. I'm not letting you infect anyone else. All right, man. But the tall man is reduced again in this one. I felt like in 3, they really deepened him. 4, we kind of continued that and then didn't finish it. And in this one, the tall man is a cartoon delusion of an old dementia patient.
Right.
Like this one doesn't have any of that character that the tall man's built up. And you could say that maybe Angus just wasn't up to it anymore.
Could be.
This and that. And that's rough, man. I don't... some people, like, you're on your deathbed, you don't want people to come visit you and you remember how bad it is. They want you to remember them as they were.
Sure, yeah.
That's somehow... I do wonder, and I don't know if you feel this way, like, would I have just been better in my life never having seen Phantasm Ravager? Because now that's just like a part of my Phantasm language.
Probably.
And that's sad, man, because I do think there's stuff in this movie that is... Like, I think Reggie's really good.
Yeah.
I like the Reggie journey. I just fucking hate the... I think what they did to the tall man in this is near unforgivable. And if Angus couldn't do it, they shouldn't have made him do it.
Yes.
They shouldn't
have. There.
It should have been Tall Mike. If he couldn't physically do it, have him just be this like background. Maybe give him like a Palpatine scene, right? He's there. Mike has become my pupil, right? Mike was dying at the end of the last one, and he made the same bargain I made back when. And do Mike as the tall man. Like, Mike is a soldier. What does that do for anyone?
I don't know.
His little fucking 90s video game thing? Like,
I swear, I wrote in my notes when Reggie is talking to Chunk, and Chunk is kind of like they're comparing kind of like, oh, the tall man? Yeah, we got a tall man. And the way that Chunk said it, I thought, oh, Mike is going to be the tall man. Like, there's a tall man, but it's not going to be the tall man that Reggie is expecting.
Yes. This is what the franchise has promised, is that Mike is turning into the tall man.
Right.
This could have been Reggie facing down with the tall man and his new creation, which was this kid that he gave everything to.
Yeah.
Right? Because his friend died and he said, I'll take care of this kid.
Uh-huh.
And through his decisions and journey, he's made another fucking monster. That's interesting. And a guy with dementia who's struggling to remember his part in creating this monster, finally having some moments of clarity in doing such. If you pitch me that movie, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'd read that Phantasm book. That's not what this is.
That's not what this is, no.
That
when they reveal that
the
Mike is a
gorge,
soldier, I'm like...
them across the gorge where they're like, pew, pew. They got their little guns, and I'm like, who fucking cares? What? They're not even the cool guns from the franchise, like the quadruple barrel or the flamethrower. It's just like normal guns, like Halo guns. And then he's on the other side of a gorge with like 4 guys from the Purge. Like, we're barely even doing the minions now. The orbs are kaiju size. So, like, what's the point of even fighting the other guys?
Well, and when we did have the smaller orbs, I got to say, I was real disappointed that it was all CGI orbs.
Yeah, like they did a good job in part 4 where like the swarm of them came out of the room.
Yes.
That was a great shot, but almost every other orb in that movie, right?
The
normal
single orbs were the normal practical.
Even the tits were real orbs.
Right.
When you start seeing them all, because like the start of the movie where they're chasing Reggie and they kill the nerd and whoever else.
That stole his car? Like what?
Yeah, that does nothing.
I know.
Like those kills were almost like sad. Like when he kills that nerd on the road and they're like, they're spraying like some fake blood out. Yeah. Right? That's the classic signature of the orb is the little blood jet, right? For 4 movies. And now they're just some CG blood on a road. This guy's in his underwear. It's chasing Reggie down, but you're like, is this it? And even Reggie like catching it in the glove box and shooting it, you're like, all right, I guess that's fun. But like, is this what it's become? Right? This like mall arcade game? There is a sadness to it, and I think that's just the nature of these franchise IPs that they wanted to keep making money off of. But we were hitting this digital revolution where you could shoot video-on-demand movies for way cheaper digitally.
Yes.
This was the inevitable hell that fucking a lot of these franchises ended up in, right? Hellraiser has some of these.
Yes. We talked about them.
Yeah. This is where they go. This is what happens when this is where your franchise is. When you're not still fucking at the top of the heap. So this was the hell this franchise was destined to. And I think if you take that criticism out, it is just what it is. Insulting the form of the movie is not supremely helpful.
No.
Right? So suffice it to say, the movie pretty much looks like shit across the board. Almost the whole movie, right? At best, a PlayStation level game. Right? Like it really is hard to watch at times. Take that out. We got one more ride with Phantasm. This is what I would ask you. What did this movie add to the franchise that we had not already covered better? Exactly.
Well,
I think
that's a great question.
That is the struggle, why did we take this last ride?
Yeah, I don't really have an answer for you.
Do you feel like following Reggie through this added more empathy to Reggie? Were we happy with Reggie at the end of the movie? Did we vanquish the tall man in a way that made us cheer?
No, it's almost like the tall man doesn't even matter in this movie.
He literally doesn't. That's a great way to say it. If you plucked him out of this movie, what are you missing?
It would change almost nothing.
Yeah, he can't do the face. He can't do the voice. You just feel sad for him. And again, you're like, wait, so Jebediah Stone defeated the imperfect flesh, but now we're watching him in real time turn into this like cuddly old man.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
It's sad. And if that's, use it. If you're going to do that.
Right.
My form is fading, right? I have to take over this world. I've spent too much time in this world fiddling with Mike and Reggie, and I'm weakening. This is the moment they can fight him because he's been, like, anything.
Something.
Give me anything to fucking, like, put my feet on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Tell me
and
why I'm
because
taking one more ride.
You've never explained to us before the actual mechanics of why he's immortal.
Right. Yeah. Why is he aging? If he had these giant orbs, why is he flowing in an army now? Why did he take so much fucking time in the 70s when he could have just called his army in, right? So maybe he made some choices. Maybe he was fucking guys in the funeral or the graveyard, and maybe he had a soft spot for them. Maybe Mike cut him down, and that infected him with the thought of like, maybe it brought back some of the human. Maybe he stayed too long, and that's why it's all going bad. Like something.
Yeah, I mean, you could write it.
Give me one fucking thought.
Yeah,
give me one thought. That's where this movie. This is the most soulless of the Phantasm movies, and I think if you're taking Reggie, who's become this cult hero for a lot of us, right? He's another Ash to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who just does some sexual assault stuff that we don't like now.
That we don't like.
That part's not great. But Reggie is a character and an actor. We love that, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to do this ride, this last ride of Reggie, who's literally the tall man has taken everything, and now his mind is collapsing. And he's got to save Mike one more time, and he's going to give the last bit of his personhood, his mind, to this battle with the tall man. That cannot be a soulless journey. That's so disingenuous and sad to the fans of the franchise. Because, again, I think it's all there. Like, if you start talking about the ideas present in the movie, had you just focused on them, you have what becomes a pretty... Like, is it fun to see Dawn get killed and the horse get killed and Daniel Roebuck to get killed? I guess. But even the kills are kind of unfun in this one.
Okay, What was going on with Demeter?
We forgot about in part 4. We didn't even mention that this all started with the tall man running over a dog.
Oh.
We totally forgot that in part 4.
Did we forget or did we just block it out?
We blocked it out. I'm not a kill the dog person. Kill a person.
No, we're not kill the dog people around
kill a
here.
human. Don't fucking cheap out. It's
yeah, I don't want that. Yeah. So in this one, Dawn mentions, and it's very strange. So when she first takes Reggie to the house and she mentions, oh, yeah, I live here alone. Well, except for my farmhand Demeter. And I'm like, okay, well, what's up with farmhand Demeter? And then when we finally meet him, and it's like, oh, it's really weird. He's like this
just a guy who's Ukrainian who doesn't speak English. But we're in a world where the tall man has destroyed society, but they don't know about it because they're on a farm.
I don't understand.
This is what I mean. This reeks. This is like if the Asylum had made a Phantasm movie.
Sure.
Right? It feels like you're just cobbling together like, all right, we're at a farm. Reggie might fuck. All right, we need that scene. We got to have some orb kills. All right, we got those. Reggie's got dementia. All right, we got some scenes where he like looks old and he's in a blanket. Tall man stuff. Bad guys who are just gas mask people. Like, you can just see them, like, checking the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no passion behind this movie. And to me, the greatest two sins a movie can have is be boring, right?
Yes.
And I think these are kind of twins, right? Because I think boring movies spawn from when you can tell the people making the film don't really have a passion for what they're telling.
Yes,
and I don't begrudge people having a job, right? If you work on Phantasm 5 or 10, whatever, go get your paycheck, do your job, great.
No, absolutely, you got to work.
But if you can tell the director and the writer and the storytellers are just getting a job done, that to me is what spawns boring, soulless movies. Yeah. This movie was the finale of a pretty heady franchise.
Yeah.
Right? They had the
journey
last vestige
that
of
went
Reggie.
Back to 1979.
That's right. And what did this movie want to tell us, the audience, on our way out? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't discern any rhyme or reason. Like, even Wishmaster 3 we did last year, right? When that went real digital and porn aesthetic, they still found this very interesting story of, oh my God, the djinn's in love with the human. Like, this great monster of the franchise has found possible love. Could he give up his evil ways for love? There's at least something.
Yeah,
it's not a good movie. It's not a great movie. But at least you're like, well, I haven't seen this yet in the franchise.
Yeah.
And other horrible graphics, I don't know what this movie has that I haven't seen. Reggie's, I don't know what's worse, the graphics or Reggie's dye job.
Right.
That's pretty rough. That's a rough
Well, you know, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking,
yeah,
one of the things that we've talked about as we've gone through this series that sets this series apart is in the prior sequels, there was that continuity. Everything's connected. You start the movie with a recap of where you left off and a recontextualizing, and it's this clear passage of time, and we're watching this progression. And that's different from other franchises where you can just like skip a movie.
Yeah.
And this film, I think it's, again, like that book, the thematic book ending of a young person grappling with death, an old person grappling with death. It's almost like just throw out the sequels in between. It's got that, similar to some other franchises where something comes out of nowhere, like,
but not in a way because like direction. We think they made mistakes and we can do better just because we don't want to think all of, because it is a franchise that has a lot of like potholes, right? Where it's like, well, if I write this, how do I explain this thing from part 3? It takes a lot of thought, and they just didn't. Because when Mike tells old Reggie, and he's like, it's an activity to keep your brain sharp, tell me the story from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. We're going to see Reg like rewriting his legend, right? Talking all this up. No. We're just back to the washed out desert. We're back to him trying to bang. I don't know, right? There's moments in there that work. Like when Mike is like not believing him. He's like, Reg, everything's going to be fine. You see Reggie crumble.
Yeah.
Because Mike doesn't remember. Mike thinks he is just this sad old guy. That he lost everything for no great heroic reason. Like moments like that, Reggie's done it long enough. He played it just right.
Yeah, it pulled on my heartstrings.
Right,
sure.
When he says, do I want to go out laying down or on my feet shoving 4 barrels of fucking hell down their throats? You're like, yes!
Yeah, Reggie, get him.
And they do nothing, right? And then essentially they turn the tall man into this like really weird 70s episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's like, our paths cross again. I can give you your family, like, what, I have plans to make everything better.
This felt like a
Don't
sci-fi
interact.
channel television show episode to me.
It was like a bad Doctor Who episode. Because instead of the tall man being this supernatural force of life and death, he's just like, I got a plan. Stay out of the way. And when they cut to like the raging battle with the orbs and all this, I was like, that's a Doctor Who. That could just be Daleks flying around.
Yes.
Right? Like it's the same exact thing. Like it's nothing. It's nothing. Yeah. There's so much stupid shit happening and it's all this big grandiose battle. The players don't matter anymore at all.
Yeah.
Why is the tall man saying stay out of my way to old Reggie? Like,
I don't know.
What is your plan? They never tell us that. They never tell us why he's doing anything. They never tell us why he ages. We're literally doing this exact same journey where it's like it's asking us the same questions, but in such a boring and tired way. And by the time you do Reggie's been stuck in a machine, so that does truly say that this movie happens and the others haven't. That somehow while the tall man is draining the essence of Reggie, right, which is a parallel to the dementia,
right?
He is taking, like the movies 2 through 4 didn't happen. Because since the first movie, Reggie's been all fucking brained up and Mike saved him.
Right.
Because now Mike's like a soldier and not a kid on a mission. Like, what the fuck are they talking about?
I don't know.
it's so, I mean, I literally was just like, I have no idea.
And I don't know that they knew either.
And then Reggie's doing an everything everywhere all at once where he's like wakes up and he's like, oh, I'm in the hallway. And I'm back in bed. And it's like, I'm trying not to be as mean as I want to be, but this movie is tedious to the point of being exhausting.
I can feel you. I can feel that you're holding back.
But this is the thing. The reason this movie is so fucking insulting is because I really love this franchise. And I think it's one of the like underappreciated and a lot forgotten franchises. And I think the reason is because people might remember Phantasm. And a lot of the good stuff from 2 through 4 is just washed away. Right? And I think anyone who saw this would be like, oh, Phantasm sucks. Right? It's unfair, right? Like now people look back at The Matrix and ding The Matrix because of the second and third one.
Right.
Right? I'm sure if you go on film Twitter, what always happens 20 years later, someone's saying that those movies are actually better than The Matrix. That always happens.
There are people.
Yeah,
I've
that
seen
always happens. There's always dummies that are like, I'll get more followers by saying something wild. Right? The Matrix 2 and 3 are better than part 1. All right, if you say that, you're just seeking attention and you're dumb. Whatever. That's the game. You'll never find anyone online saying Ravager is a worthy companion to Phantasm.
Doubtful.
It's at such a level that even a film Twitter clout chaser would never dare type those words. Because you couldn't even begin to form the case.
Right.
But that's what makes me mad, is because I really think this is a great story. Like, I just love the world of Phantasm, and to watch someone so disrespect it from within hurts. I thought, like, this one I took personally almost watching it this time. Like, it bothered me. Because I would say Child's Play is the one franchise. Like, every entry had something going for it, right? Like, I think that's the most consistently good franchise. Even Halloween, when they reboot and disrespect storylines, whatever, I thought they at least had something. Or Michael Myers is so elevating that it's fine, right? Friday's like that. Freddy Krueger's mostly like that. But, like,
Scream.
when I watch, Scream, I think they do a great job, right? When I watch Freddy's Dead, I didn't feel personally hurt by that. I was like, this is the inevitable journey for this movie. He got a little too cartoonish. We put Roseanne and Tom Arnold in it, and the movie had a Nintendo, and it's not great. All right, fine. For the most part, it's still a Freddy Krueger movie.
Yeah.
This one is barely on any recognizable level other than some surface level iconography a Phantasm movie.
Yeah.
And that fucking hurts. This is the one franchise you're like, they're so fucking weird. And Don Coscarelli did write this. He didn't direct it. He did have a hand writing it. It's such a unique vision that they lose audience because of the weird intricacies of it. And to see this version of it, it does like rile me up when I watch it again. Unlike a bad entry in any other horror franchise. Because they all have terrible entries. I don't get mad when I see the bad Hellraisers. I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a bad a Pinhead movie. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right? For some reason, this one, like, personally angers me in a way that I've never been able to articulate.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it is like if you saw... It's Kiss doing disco. Right? Kiss was this weird, like, rock band that was never the best, but they had a thing. They had a makeup. We were the Kiss Army. It was great. And then it's like, wait, they're doing disco? And, like, how hard that is to process. And, like, ouch. Yeah. This is Kiss doing disco to me. That's what this movie is. And it fucking
That's
hurts,
a good
man.
analogy.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. And when Mike says, this isn't our home anymore, and they open the door to the fucking hellscape, that to me felt like him saying, this is not your
This isn't a Phantasm
anymore.
Movie anymore.
This isn't your movie anymore. Right? Like, this is just an abomination that exists. I feel bad. I want to have fun mixing it up about, like, wow, wasn't that weird? This is the one movie that adds nothing. I'm with you. Is it nice to see Reggie in the back seat at the end and see those three? Like, hey, guys, let's ride off into the sunset, bro.
I'm a sucker for that shit. That sentimental shit.
But the movie's telling us that that's not real. And if you add in the post-credit you just told me about, Chunk is 100% dead and in 50 pieces.
Right.
So if he's there, he's dead. Rocky rode off at the end of 3, she's dead. Right? These are people that are all uniting in death or hell or whatever this is. They're not off on, like, our Earth going to fucking have adventures. They're done.
That is a bummer.
That's a fucking bummer, isn't it?
That's a bummer.
Are Jody
They're
and Mike
on their way
really
to Bummer Town.
Now the Himikuda has a fucking giant Gatling gun on the front of it. Another image from the series that they've tainted. They're letting us know specifically that these people
in Mad Max?
This is a dream world. That Reggie is a dementia patient, and this is his final dream. Because they even cut back to Jody and Mike, even though Jody died. In all realities, Jody's dead. They cut back to Jody and Mike at Reggie's bedside.
Sure.
So Reggie's slowly dying as he imagines them driving away, possibly imagines Jody in the room touching his tits as he dies.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is happening?
I don't know. Well, this is making me think. So when we talked about the first Phantasm movie and we got to the ending, kind of that letdown, the anger of, wait, it was all a dream?
Bad endings are the currency of Phantasm.
Right?
Yeah.
Wait, it was all a dream? But that's, the last 10 minutes of the movie. That is this entire movie.
Yes, that's it. Because I can throw that ending out of Phantasm, or I can just immediately start Phantasm 2 where they're like, or this is it. There's never been another movie that came in and let me wash the taste of this out.
Yeah, it's like that 10 minutes stretched out across a whole movie.
An entire that's a great way to put this one.
Yeah.
And there's just, because there are these moments, right, where the tall man is, my need for you is now finished. He even says to Mike, and it's like, what did Mike do that fulfilled this promise? They start shooting rocket launchers, and he's like, there are thousands of me. He does the Matrix loading room of tall men. I'm in dimensions you can't imagine. And then his answer for the whole franchise, for everything, is the reason Mike mattered is because every tall man deserves amusement. And that was such a fucking cutting remark. That is such a painful line of dialogue in the movie. It's like, is that all this has been? That's all this has been?
That doesn't make sense.
None of this. It hurt. Like, it physically
that doesn't
hurt
make sense.
Me, right? Mike was there for your amusement. That physically pained my soul when the movie. Yeah. So I was like, this is just so soulless, and it's so painful of a. And I do think that's what I would tell people. This is why I think Phantasm 5 is a very instructive movie for writers or filmmakers. When you take on a franchise, these things fucking matter to people.
Yes.
There's a reason why it's an IP that you're getting a chance to make another one of. And Phantasm fucking matters to me. And to watch these writers so flippantly fucking destroy everything I've loved so callously and just a fucking throwaway, no budget, digital piece of shit really fucking hurt, man.
Yeah.
It really fucking hurt, because at the end when Reggie's going, it's just not getting any easier. That's Phantasm, right? The grappling with age and mortality and reality. That's Phantasm, right? Him saying it's a hell of a start to a trio as we know he's dead already, whatever.
Right.
I can do all of that.
Yeah.
When you show me the tall man's woman form just get shot and she's dead. Well, wait. Where's the fucking tall man? He's that lady. Right? When the tall man says he's done with Mike and Mike's done nothing and it's just a fucking gas. What the fuck is that? When you show him as Jebediah Morningside and he does nothing? Threatens Reggie?
Right. Well, and again, doesn't make sense. We know that Jebediah, in the previous films, this is more evidence of this, that we have to assume that what they're trying to tell us with this last film is that none of that should happen, because
they are 100% telling us that Reggie is just an old man with dementia.
Right. Because Jebediah Morningside went into the portal and never came back. The tall man came back. So if that is true, you would not have Jebediah Morningside in an old folks home.
Yeah.
On his deathbed.
And why would the tall man has never taken on that affectation? He did become a lady that banged dudes.
Yeah.
But he never became Morningside again. You would imagine that's a bridge too far. That's what somehow in that journey that we never saw he wanted to destroy. So, and again,
it doesn't make sense.
I hate doing these podcasts where it's just like lashing out at a movie. But when we decided we would do every movie in a franchise, right? It happened with Hellraiser. It happened with Texas Chainsaw. There are franchises that have inarguably bad entries.
Yes, it's inevitable.
Right. And I think a lot of them are bad because of budget, because of this, and because of that. The ones that really are painful are bad because they're so fucking lazy.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have had the budget. You might have been all digital. The effects might have looked like shit. That does not mean that on paper you can't sit down and do the work of justifying why we're hanging out with this one more time. You can come up with one more thing for the tall man to say to us. One more thing for Reggie to say to us beyond it never gets easier. Right? That is just brain power and pen and paper right there.
Well,
I forgive movies their bad budget and all that.
Right.
I do not forgive the laziness. That is the sin to me.
If any franchise can do more or can get more, stretch a small budget more, it's Phantasm.
Look
at that first movie.
$300,000 for that first one. Yeah.
Right. And basically,
it's a fucking horror masterpiece. Everyone loves it.
Like 4 people that get any real screen time and, some other smaller characters thrown in there, just a couple of settings and a stretch of road, all practical stuff and not a lot.
Couple blood squirts.
Yeah. Like
that's it.
You didn't need much.
And they already built all that.
Right.
And if you're doing it digitally after the fact, you can do that. Again, it's a lack of brain power, not finances.
Right.
This movie could look like shit, the whole movie, and I would forgive, like what you did last year with me, the final Hellraiser Judgment.
Yeah.
That movie looks like dog shit. It's a fucking terrible visual experience. But at the end, Hellraiser talks to an angel and kills it. And he's like, I fight back against the Christian God. And you're like, oh, that's new. That's interesting. That's enough for me. I'm an easy to please horror fan.
Yes.
That Hellraiser Judgment is a piece of shit that has something interesting in the middle of it. And to me, that makes it worth the journey.
And it was something like, oh, that's new. We've never seen them do that before.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see where that
Yes. That's what I'm saying. So they might have had budgetary constraints. They couldn't make the movie they wanted, but they put the brain power in to justify its existence.
Yes.
And this movie fails that test in one of the most epic crash and burns in horror movie franchise history. That is saying a lot to me. Right? I guess you could say maybe like Leprechaun has some really bad entries and some repeats. But it's a different it's not Phantasm. That's a glorified SNL sketch that they just made movies out of.
Yeah, I mean, people enjoy okay, I don't want to speak out of turn. Maybe someone has a different opinion.
Franchise.
I think a lot of people like the Leprechaun movies because they're bad.
Yes, I love
that's
that
kind of
franchise.
The point. That's the point that they're bad.
I love it. Right? And again, I never have to expect anything from it.
Right.
If I get a couple funny Leprechaun moments, that's the whole thing. Phantasm told me we were doing more.
We have big ideas.
4 movies, they gave me big, heady ideas.
Yeah.
It was Doctor Who with horror. It's prog rock. It's niche. It's not going to be for everyone, but it was for me. And it mattered to me. And this one just took a shit on all of that. And that, to me, is the hard part. Right?
That's hard. That's hard.
That's the thing. Again, this movie inarguably is the worst looking, worst produced, everything. Right? Angus Scrimm's a little too old. There's things that the movie can't change the fact they had no budget.
Right.
You can put more brain power onto paper. That is free.
Yes.
That is fucking free.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the difference. That's why when I watch Leprechaun Back to the Hood, I don't get mad when it's probably equally as bad as this movie. It does what it promises.
That is true.
This does not.
Promise
it's a lack
fulfilled.
of effort. Yes. And I feel bad. I know people don't love podcasts where it's just a guy shitting on the thing. Hey, if you like Phantasm 5 Ravager and you came to this pod like, oh, they're going to talk about a movie I like, and I spent the whole movie shitting on it, I don't like doing that. I would love for someone to have a talk with me and explain why this is not detrimental to what Phantasm built.
Yeah.
And if someone could explain that to me, I would listen and be happy. I would. So, we have to end here. Final rankings of the Phantasm franchise. I think we both have Ravager, number 5. Do you want to go top down or bottom up?
This is a good...
So let's go bottom up.
I should have been prepared for this,
I should have told you. That's my fault. Phantasm 5 is the bottom. I think Phantasm 4 is next because it falls apart at the end. I would then go Phantasm 2. It's big, it's clean, but it doesn't take a big step.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, here's the fight. I think we probably are in agreement on that. Do you like Phantasm 3 better than Phantasm 1?
No.
No?
No.
I don't think I can make that case either. So I think it is almost exactly in the order they came out, except for that 3 is better than 2.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I think 3 is just more fun. It adds some more mythology. It lets Angus Scrim work a little more.
Yeah, and we got Rocky.
And we got Rocky and Tim, which was fucking awesome.
It was fun.
I think that one leaps up a little bit. But I think it is one of those franchises where it's hard for an audience when every movie gets worse for the most part. But I would say the difference between 3, 2, and 4 is pretty minimal. So I would say that Phantasm was kind of a straight line. Like high, little lower straight line, and then just through the fucking floor for Ravager.
And then it just got weird, but not like good weird.
Not good weird. Just like, why is this happening to me?
Why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's like people talk about how much like the prequels ruined Star Wars for them. I was right there. The prequels don't do anything as egregious as Phantasm Ravager.
Whoa.
This is so much better.
What?
Or the prequels are so much better than Phantasm Ravager.
Okay, now that might be true. I don't
that
have
is true.
Like
that's a fact.
When it comes to Phantasm, I have no skin in the game because I came to these movies later in life. Like I don't have a long history with it.
I'll tell you which one hurt me more.
I don't feel as personally attacked.
Phantom Menace hurt me more at the time because Star Wars meant so much more to me.
Right.
But I look back now and I was like, even though they were bad ideas, at least George Lucas had ideas. And it gave us some cool characters that have then gone on to be in other shows. Like now we've had all these other shows and movies set in the prequel times. So people are retroactively saying the prequels are better. The prequels are a fucking abomination.
I'm not saying that they're an abomination.
No, Alex and I went back and rewatched them all for our other podcast we used to do.
I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it.
We were doing it like lawyers, and we said, let's make the case. It's been a lot of time. Film Twitter's doing its thing where they're like, they're actually better than the original. They do.
Right.
Everyone on Film Twitter, every movie you hate, someone's going to say it's better than
someone does. Well, I noticed generationally, people who were
people who grew up with those.
Right, when they were kids,
they don't care.
Little kids when they came out.
Yeah, they don't
have a very different relationship to it.
Like how horrible it was to see Jar Jar in our lives. They won't remember, like I camped out, right? Like it's like a real big thing.
Yeah.
So Phantasm wasn't that because it was video on demand.
Right.
But Phantasm was more like you have that band you find in a bar, you're friends with them, and then all of a sudden they go big and just fucking turn their backs on everyone.
Yeah, like totally change genre.
Yeah, they're dressed in Abercrombie now, and they're like, oh, I don't even like. It was like for my wife when Gwen Stefani said there's no interesting rock music anymore, and she started doing the Banana song, and my wife was like, what? No doubt.
Wait,
what happened? And she was so hurt and sad and offended.
That hurts.
Right? Because it was like her thing, right? No Doubt was everyone's thing in the 90s. But this would be like your small band that you've really been a champion of. Just fucking change. Like when Metallica got their haircuts, people were really hurt. Like that's what this movie is.
No, totally.
You know, it bums me out. But what made it better was having you with me on the journey.
No, this was first time watch for me. I had not seen this because, here's the thing. Anytime you have a franchise with sequels beyond a number 3, beyond a trilogy, I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
That anything beyond 4 and beyond is going to be any good. But I am really glad to have gone through this Phantasm journey with you because it gave me the nudge I needed to see 3 and 4, which I had never experienced. And there was a lot that I enjoyed about 3, and there was stuff I enjoyed about 4. 5, I think on a sentimental level, some of that really like that friendship stuff was very sweet, and I was feeling that. So I'm glad that we went through this journey.
That's a nice political answer.
Yes. You know me.
Well, I think this is why we like October, right? Because if we did this, like, let's talk about the franchise at whole, right? And that was one episode. you would miss a lot of stuff movie to movie. You would miss that like evolving nature, and you would just never even mention Ravager.
Right.
It would be forgotten. Right? And I think when you force yourself to take every entry as part of the whole, we have found over our October marathons that there's something really instructive about that. And I like that homework, even if the movie hurts me.
Yeah.
Right? And this year we knew was going to be rough because it was Phantasm and Texas Chainsaw, both of which have some notoriously rough sequels. But again, I think they're both, when they're good, they're so good.
Yes.
And I like Phantasm, man. And will I ever watch Ravager again the rest of my life? Probably not.
Probably not. And
I had forgotten most of it for a good reason. I burn.
You and Danny are always, you and Alex are always as more positive than so many podcasts.
Yes.
And personally that I hear, you guys are always very positive, but you also have to be honest. And every once in a while, being honest means saying, I didn't like this and it bummed me out.
I would imagine most people, if we're like, Ravager kicked ass, would immediately turn the podcast.
And that's okay because there's another podcast tomorrow because it's the 31 Days of Horror.
That's right. Tomorrow we are Scream 5ing. Nice. So we also, sometimes we do a franchise and new movies come out. So we're finishing up Scream. We have another one maybe. But yeah, if another Phantasm movie comes out, you'll be called back into service.
I will come back into service.
You're our Phantasm correspondent now.
I will. Yes. I mean, I commit to that.
Eventually it will be rebooted like everything. I don't think that's the worst thing. I think this one is prime.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Like, I don't know that the Hellraiser reboot was like the best thing I've ever seen.
I really enjoyed it.
It was good. It put some new lifeblood in there, and you're like, I would watch 3 more of those.
Sure.
Right? It wasn't a grand slam like Evil Dead's reboot, but then what'd they do with that? Nothing. But I think Phantasm, the big ideas, the fun, imaginary surrealism of it, I think in today's world, you could really fucking
There's a lot you could do with it.
Phantasm.
No, you're not wrong. You're not
you have
wrong.
to keep some of that practicality, and finding a new tall man will be brutal. But like, what if Michael Shannon was the new tall man?
Oh.
Right? Think
interesting.
On that. Perfect for it. Perfect look already.
No, that's interesting.
He'd be great.
Well, if it happens, friends.
Yes.
I will come out of the reserves into active duty and.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for making the time. I had a blast.
I did too. I always have fun talking movies with you.
That's right. Same here. Tell the people where they can find your stuff on our way out. This is your last one for the month. Let them know.
For the month, yeah. So.
Always welcome back. You know that.
Well, and I would love to come back anytime, my friends.
Right.
Folks can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd. Same handle for both, at Carmelita Says.
Excellent. And guys, as we move, we're almost done with the franchise segment. The second half is the guest-heavy portion of the month. If you want every episode, go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod.
You do.
There is a pod for every 31 days, but 3 of them are over on Patreon. So if you'd be so kind, go over there and support the show and get your extra podcast episodes. This is a huge thing we do every year. We can only do it with the help of people like you, Carmelita. So thank you. We're damn near halfway through, guys. I hope everyone is enjoying it as much as we are.